This is a bit of a story within a story that has always stuck with me for some strange reason. I guess it just spoke to a part of my soul or a part of some sort of truth I see in reality, not to get too deep in the first 3 seconds of this video, but that's pretty much how I feel about it. I feel like it's really relevant to a lot of things today, to technology today. At least that's what it speaks to for me, but I'm going to basically tell you this story within a story, read a little bit of the passages inside it, and then, I don't know, just wanted to share it with you, form your own conclusions, but I'd love to know what you think regardless. Dandelion Wine is really a book about childhood, and it's a book about a lot of things, as lots of Bradbury books are. It sort of meanders, takes its own road, and that's what I love about him. But just so you know, I'm not really giving you any spoilers for this book because it's just this tiny little minute of a story. It's barely even a chapter. So it's not to worry that I'm giving you away anything about this book as a whole, just one tiny, tiny little piece. In the background of the story, there's a man named Leo Offman, and he's an inventor. And all around, as this rest of the story progresses, Leo is trying to invent a happiness machine. He wants to find a way to contain everything that brings us happiness, and for everyone, not just himself, but for young people, old people, people in between. What is the essence of happiness, and how can he bottle it, put it into a machine, and make it so that you push a button and you feel happiness? He is absolutely obsessed with this idea, so much so that it's sort of to his own detriment. His wife, Lena, sees this entire project as frivolous, and if not against God, against Leo himself, because it is clearly ruining his life, his obsession with this machine. But he persists nonetheless, and he's always asking her questions like, Lena, do you feel satisfied and complete, and all these things. And Lena is just worried about keeping the household running, keeping the kids fed, and the socks darned, and the laundry done, and the shopping done. And she says all these things to Leo, and she keeps insisting that she is not complaining. She says, Leo, I'm not complaining. I'm just reminding you of what's in the house and what makes it work, since you seem so keen to forget. She's what I imagine is more of a salt of the earth. If she doesn't find joy in the everyday, she certainly has learned to appreciate it and see it as a blessing. While Leo, on the other hand, seems transfixed by these ideas of what he can't have or what he will never have, but he really wants to make them his. So finally, he does it. He's created it. He's done it. He's created the happiness machine. He paints it a bright orange. It's this big box in the garage. He is so eager for everyone to try it. The neighbors, his wife, so that he can prove to her that this was all worth it, his children, and a crowd sort of gathers because it makes this sound, this strange sort of mechanical but enchanting sound that draws people in. So there's a little bit of a crowd around the garage, and Leo wants Lena to be the first to try it. And Lena at this point has been packing up her belongings. She's threatening to leave because Leo is so detached from their life together. But she decides that she will try it before she goes, and when one of her children protests, she says, no, I have to know what I'm yelling about, which is, a very wise thing. She wants to know what she's so upset about and why she doesn't trust this idea of a machine that she hasn't even really gotten to try. So Lena is the first in, and you can hear these sounds from within, sort of strange, almost indescribable sounds, but you can hear her reaction to them. And at first it's intrigue or admiration. She's in Paris suddenly, and you can hear her exclaiming over the sights of Paris, the sights of Rome, and then she starts to cry. And the children say, Dad, she's crying, and he says, no, she can't be, it's a happiness machine. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Of course she's happy. And what she has to say is pretty interesting, so I'm going to go ahead and read to you some of what she says. So she gets out, she's crying, and she has to finish crying to kind of gather what she's going to say. Leo turns off the machine, turns to his wife, and she says, oh, it's the saddest thing in the world. I feel awful, terrible. First, there was Paris, and she climbs out of the machine to explain herself. And Leo says, what's wrong with Paris? I never even thought of being in Paris in my life, but now you've got me thinking, Paris. So suddenly I want to be in Paris, and I know I'm not. Leo says, the machine is almost as good. It's just as good as Paris. You're practically there. But Lena says, no, sitting in there, I knew it wasn't real. She looks at her husband with these dark, wet eyes, and she says, Leo, you had me dancing. We haven't danced in 20 years. Leo thinks he solved the problem, and he says, I'll take you dancing tomorrow night. It's no trouble. But Lena's insisting, no, that's not the point. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter that we haven't danced in 20 years, but you've made it matter. Basically, Lena is saying that the machine is lying. It's a clever lie, but it's a lie all the same. And this is what she says. Leo, the mistake you made is you forgot some hour, some day, we all got to climb out of that thing and go back to dirty dishes, and the bed's not made. While you're in that thing, sure, a sunset lasts forever almost. The air smells good, the temperature is fine. All the things you want to last. But outside, the children wait on lunch, the clothes need buttons. And let's be frank, Leo, how long can you look at a sunset? Who wants a sunset to last? Who wants perfect temperature? Who wants air smelling good always? So after a while, who would notice? Better for a minute or two, a sunset. After that, let's have something else. People are like that, Leo. How could you forget? Leo insists that it's sad that a sunset ends, but Lena says, no, if the sunset stayed and we got bored, that would be a real sadness. So 2 things you did you should never have. You made quick things go slow and stay around. You brought things far away to our backyard where they don't belong, where they just tell you no, you'll never travel, Lena Hoffman. Paris you'll never see, Rome you'll never visit. But I always knew that, so why tell me? Better to forget and make do, Leo, make do. Leo is absolutely flummoxed by this response, and he says, so now what? Like, what do we do with this thing? What's your point? And Lena says, it's not for me to say. I know only so long as this thing is here, I'll want to come out, or Saul will want to come out like he did last night, and against our judgment, sit in it and look at all those places so far away, and every time we will cry and be no fit family for you. So Leo decides to try the machine for himself and see if what Lena has to say is true at all. But just as he gets in, he pushes the button to make the thing start, and suddenly it catches fire. It catches fire, he exits the machine, he yells for the neighbor to call the fire department, and his wife says, wait. She waits long enough for the machine to be engulfed, and then she says, okay, go ahead and call. So they watch the happiness machine, this mountain of effort and work, just be wasted to ash and ruin. Lena and the children go inside. Leo is still out there, kind of just staring at the rubble, wondering and thinking and puzzling over what has just happened to him. And as he's shifting around the debris with his foot, he says something. The first thing you learn in life is you're a fool. The last thing you learn in life is you're the same fool. In 1 hour, I've done a lot of thinking. I thought Leo Hoffman is blind. You want to see the real happiness machine, the one they patented a couple thousand years ago. It still runs, not good all the time, but it runs. It's been here all along. And his neighbors say, but the fire, the garage, all of it. And Leo says it doesn't matter. It's just like Lena said. What burned in the garage doesn't count. And he gathers his friends, he takes them quietly up the front porch steps, and he says, here, the front window, quiet, and you'll see it. So hesitantly, they all peer in through the big picture window, looking inside. And there, in small, warm pools of lamplight, you could see what Leo Hoffman wanted you to see. There sat Saul and Marshall playing chess at the coffee table. In the dining room, Rebecca laying out the silver. Naomi was cutting paper doll dresses. Ruth was painting watercolors. Joseph was running his electric train. Through the kitchen door, Lena Hoffman was sliding a pot roast from the steaming oven. Every hand, every head, every mouth made a big or little motion. You could hear their faraway voices under glass. You could hear someone singing in a high, sweet voice. You could smell bread baking too, and you knew it was real bread that would soon be covered with real butter. Everything was there, and it was working. So all of his neighbors turned to look at Leo, who's gazing serenely through this window, the pink light from the lamps on his cheeks, and he said, sure, there it is. And he watched with now gentle sorrow and now quick delight, and at last quiet acceptance as all the bits and pieces of this house mixed, stirred, settled, poised, and ran steadily again. The happiness machine, he said. The happiness machine. What this feels like to me is a modern distraction, mostly smartphones. I feel like the smartphone is the happiness machine. Of course, Ray Bradbury didn't know about smartphones and all that. when he wrote this, but it certainly seems like the smart device and all the stuff we have available to us can sometimes be a happiness machine that lies. It promises one thing and often it delivers another, yet we still want to go back to it. So I don't know, it's just something that I think about all the time. I think when I've talked to other friends about it, they've related it to other things entirely, so I'd be very curious to know if it relates to anything for you. But regardless, for me, it's a special story. Somehow, a bit of my soul is wrapped up and bound in this book, and I'm always glad to take it out and visit it once again. This book is really about growing up. It's about small town life. It's kind of hard to find, a little bit expensive just because not that many people, I guess, read about it or hear about it when Bradbury has so many other popular works, but from people who like Bradbury, this is always one of their favorites once they get to it. So I hope you'll like it if you ever choose to read it. If not, I'd like to hear your thoughts on The Happiness Machine. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.